Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. If you know me, you're already laughing, waiting for the story. uh, if you don't know me, you need to know I used to train law enforcement. One day, I was given a class, and I had a cop ask about hitting a suspect in the knee with a baton, saying that it was probably more effective. And I explained, you've got legal, tactical, and medical liability. The legal and medical liability on that is going to eat you alive. You don't want to do anything that could be permanently disabling, like hit a joint, unless your life is truly in danger. And he says, well, we write the report. If you don't know what that phrase means, it means that the cops can pretty much say whatever they want in the police report and it will be believed, even if they are lying. It bothered me that he said it. It bothered me more that I got a room full of cops and nobody said anything against it, and in fact, most of them laughed. I never taught another class for law enforcement again. That was 12 years ago. In that time, I have had a number of officers ask me for training, and they normally get pretty colorful responses. This is a little bit different. A cop watched that police militarization video, and I don't want to put his details out there. He's been a cop for more than 5 and less than 10 years. He said he'd never heard the phrase time, distance, and cover. And I guess in the comments section I talked about auditory exclusion. He'd never heard of that either. He Googled it and said that now he feels a little bad. Now what that means is that over the course of his career he has treated someone more roughly than he should have, simply because he did not know. He ends his message by saying, Bo, you're wrong. We do need militarized training, just not the kind we're getting. I want to know what you know so I don't hurt anybody. Okay. Okay, yeah. You, sir, you have my attention. Now, you said that if I made this video, you would share it with every cop that you know. I'm going to advise you against that. I'm going to advise you not to do that. What you're doing is not going to be received well by your brethren in the thin blue line. Okay? All right, time, distance, and cover. Now, if you're a civilian, if you're not a cop, you need to watch this anyway, because you are going to become a little bit more critical of law enforcement. Keep in mind, this is the stuff that was being taught a decade ago. So if you see this stuff being inappropriately applied today, it is entirely on the department. This isn't new research. This has been around for at least 10 years. Okay, time, distance, and cover. It's exactly what it sounds like. Time. If you roll up on a scene, you don't know what's going on, you take a little bit of time to watch the suspect, you keep your distance, give him some breathing room, and you stay behind cover in case he does start shooting at you. Why do you want to do this? How does this work in real life? How does it play out in real police work? Go look at the shooting of Tamir Rice. This kid playing in a park. Cops roll up, pull up feet away from him, get out of the car and kill him. Gun him down. Time, distance, and cover would have saved his life. John Crawford, guy inside a Walmart, picks up a BB gun from the store that wasn't in the box, calls his, I think, girlfriend to ask if he could buy it for the kid. Some idiot walking by calls the cops, makes it seem like there's an active shooting going on. Cops show up, run inside, ignore all of the counterindications, like the fact that nobody in the Walmart is diving for cover. There are no gunshots. Nobody seems startled at all, except for those people that see the cop running with his rifle. Runs back to sporting goods, rounds the corner, pop, pop, kills him. Time, distance, and cover would have saved his life. The list of victims goes on and on and on. Most bad shoots are because this was not applied. Time, distance, and cover. Please start to use it. Auditory exclusion. Auditory exclusion, you guys are trained in tunnel vision, right? You've heard that term. Your body has certain biological responses to high stress situations and adrenaline. You're familiar with tunnel vision because they talk about it. And they say, yeah, you got to look left to right, and you got to be very, aware of it when you're in a high-speed chase. Otherwise, you'll get tunnel vision. Auditory exclusion is the hearing counterpart to that. In high-stress situations, you can suffer temporary hearing loss or limited hearing. An example of it from your world, guys. Walk out to your car, turn the siren on, and just sit there. It is loud. It is annoying, right? When you're in a chase, you hear it? Not really. But you hear that radio. That is auditory exclusion at work. Okay, so what this means is, let's say you kick in the door on a house. You got your black mask on, your Oakleys, because you're an operator. You kick in the door, and there's that guy standing at his kitchen sink. Confused. Traumatized. That's why you do it. That's why you dress that way. It's intimidating. It is shocking. It is traumatic. It is high stress. He's standing there at the kitchen sink, and you're telling him to put his hands on his head, and he's not complying. Well, he's obviously resisting. No, he can't hear you. Give him a few seconds. He'll hear it. Another one of these biological responses is, let's say you roll up on a kid selling a dime bag. He takes off running. That's completely normal. That is completely normal. That's not a reason to shoot him. Fight, flight, or freeze. That is, you can't kill somebody because they succumb to a biological response. So he takes off running. You give chase. You catch him in an alley. And he's standing there. And you're yelling at him, put your hands on your head. And he's not doing it. Give him a few seconds. All he hears right now is his heart. He's not, this is no reason to kill him. To add another dimension to this scenario, your partner's with you. Another cop shows up, whatever. You're both yelling at him. Put your hands on your head. Get on the ground. You're already messing up. You are already messing up. If you got a bunch of cops, one person speaks. One person gives commands. Why? Because two could give conflicting commands, or they could give commands that cannot be complied with at the same time. Then somebody in the group of cops believes that he's resisting, and excessive force ensues. One person speaks. Continue this scenario. So you got a guy. Maybe he resisted a little bit. Then he ran. What do? You got him now, right? You cuff him. What happens next? He falls, right? Throw him on the ground. Boom! And everybody jumps on him. And then you're surprised when he dies. You didn't beat him to death. What happened? It's a misnomer because it isn't normally a lack of oxygen that does it. But if you want to look into the research on it and understand the theory, it's called positional asphyxiation. For you guys, this is what you do. Go run. Get winded. For you guys, most of y'all, that's running out to the mailbox. When you get there, put your hands in your pockets, lock your elbows, and don't move your feet. Don't rock back and forth, nothing. Just freeze. It hurts, right? Because your heart's still racing. So if somebody ran, exerted themselves while they were resisting, now they can't move, their hands are cuffed, you're laying on them, and they have the added stress that they're going to jail. Somebody Eric Garner's size, they might die. Positional asphyxiation. The next bit is wear your vest. Wear your vest. There are a lot of critics of police departments that they don't want them wearing plate carriers. I do. I want you to have top of the line armor because it makes you act a little bit less like a child afraid of their own shadow. When you're scared, you do stupid things. You make mistakes. So wear your vest. And if you are one of the extremely few cops that gets in a shootout, stay behind cover. Every video I see of you guys in a shootout, you Starsky and Hutch it out into the middle of the road popping off rounds. You don't hit the guy. Why? because you're stressed, you're moving, you're scared. You're inaccurate because you don't train. Fire 48 rounds. Suspect hit 3 times. That's 45 rounds that could have killed some kid. Could have killed some single mother. Could have killed some elderly guy. Stay behind cover. I'm not telling you this because I care if you get shot. I don't want you shooting somebody else because you're scared. Now, the last bit is not like the other stuff. The other stuff is very researchable. This is more personal advice. It's something I have noticed over the years, and it's something that you should probably be aware of. To understand, I need to tell you a story. 6 weeks ago, more or less, a friend of mine is down in the hurricane impact zone. He's a vet, and he is ate up. He looks a lot like me, only with long hair, looks homeless. He's ate up, though. He has seen more than most, more than anybody really should. He's got some severe PTSD, and he's got problems with authority. He's down there cooking food and distributing it. And I can't remember if it was because he was cooking food without a license or he wasn't supposed to be at the park that he was distributing it at. Either way, sheriff's deputy rolls up. And this cop's like, you can't do this. And he's like, I assure you I can. Look, I'm doing it. And the cop's like, look, you keep doing this, I got to take you to jail. You need to shut this down. And the guy goes like this, holds his hands out to be cuffed, and then puts his hands behind his back. Cop doesn't want to be the sheriff of Nottingham. He's like, look, I get off in 4 hours. I got the call. You can't be here when the next shift arrives. I'll be back at the end of my shift. If you're still here, I got to take you in. And he left. The fact that that cop exercised the spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law is the only reason he's alive. This guy did not put his hand at the small of his back to be cuffed. It's where his weapon was. Somewhere in North Florida, there's a deputy that has no idea he was seconds away from having his head turned into a canoe. It's an unjust law. It's plainly unjust law. This guy understood that, went with the spirit of the law. This was to protect people from, unsanitary conditions. Chose not to enforce it during the hurricane. Saved his life. There are a lot of unjust laws out there. When you run across somebody that is ideologically motivated and they are breaking the law, but the crime has no victim, keep rolling. Keep rolling. The most dangerous people on the planet are true believers. And now that the legislative branches are passing all these laws that are putting you face to face with these guys, you need to be aware of it. Trust me, the riddled vet who's feeding someone after a hurricane, oh, dude, they're going to kill you so much faster than any drug dealer you have ever met. You need to stay away from ideologically motivated people. You need to stay away from the do-gooders. Because most of the do-gooders today, they're doing it out of anger. Anyway, just a thought, Now, to the guy who sent me this message, you said you were going to approach your chief and try to get him to give you advanced training on this kind of stuff. I'm going to advise you against that. You're going to lose your job. I looked into your department. It's small. Going forward and asking for reform, you're going to get marked. You need to have somebody outside of that department raise a stink and ask for it. If the chief goes for it, send me a message. I will come up and give the classes for free. Anyway, y'all have a nice night.